There's a specific moment when it happens. Not dramatic, not announced. You're in the middle of a conversation and you realize you're no longer trying. You're no longer adjusting your tone, softening your truth, managing someone else's comfort. And instead of guilt, there's something else. A strange lightness, like a weight you didn't know you were carrying just disappeared. That shift doesn't arrive with fanfare. It arrives quietly after years of giving more than you received, after countless times you absorbed someone else's chaos to keep the peace, after holding space for people who never thought to ask how much room you had left. And then one day you stop. Not because you've become cruel, because you've become precise. This is where the first thing happens. Carl Jung spoke about the shadow, that part of yourself you've been taught to hide. The impulses and truths you've kept locked away because they didn't fit the version of you that others needed. For empaths, the shadow often holds something unexpected. Not rage, not bitterness, indifference. You've spent so long believing that caring deeply was your identity, your value, your purpose. So when you stop caring, it feels like betrayal. But here's what actually happens. You don't become cold, you become whole. That indifference you feared, it wasn't darkness, it was boundary. It was the part of you that knew when to stop pouring yourself into empty vessels. Jung understood that integration means accepting all of yourself, including the parts that refuse to keep saving people who don't want to be saved. When an empath stops caring completely, the shadow doesn't consume them. It completes them. And that completion feels less like loss and more like finally standing upright after years of bending. You notice how much energy returns, how much mental space clears, how many hours suddenly belong to you again. Not because you've abandoned compassion, because you've stopped confusing compassion with self-erasure. That distinction changes everything. The second thing, relationships reorganize instantly. This part is uncomfortable, because when you stop caring, you expect people to notice, to ask what changed, to fight for the connection. Most don't. They drift. And their drifting tells you something you already knew but didn't want to confirm. They were never connected to you. They were connected to what you provided. The people who stay are few, sometimes none. And that absence, as brutal as it feels, is also clarifying. You realize how many relationships were built on your capacity to absorb, to soothe, to give without asking. When that capacity withdraws, the structure collapses. Not because you destroyed it, because it was never built on mutual ground. Jung called this the process of individuation, becoming who you actually are rather than who others need you to be. For empaths, individuation often looks like isolation at first. The crowd thins, the phone stops ringing, invitations fade, and in that thinning something essential emerges. You stop performing connection and start recognizing it. The people who remain aren't there because you're useful. They're there because you're real. And real connection doesn't require you to care endlessly. It requires you to care accurately, to give when giving feels aligned, not obligatory, to withdraw when withdrawal protects something true in you. This reorganization happens fast, faster than you expect. Within weeks, sometimes days, your social world reshapes itself. And what's left isn't emptiness, it's clarity. You see who was with you and who was just near you. That difference stops being abstract. The third thing, you become unreadable. Here's where it gets strange. When an empath stops caring completely, they don't become transparent, they become opaque. People who once felt they knew you, suddenly don't. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your boundaries. You stop offering emotional access as proof of authenticity. And that shift unsettles people, because empaths are supposed to be open, available, easy to read. When you're not, it disrupts their understanding of who you are. They ask what's wrong. They say you've changed. They accuse you of being distant, cold, different. And you realize something unsettling. They preferred you when you were porous. Jung spoke about the persona, the mask we wear to navigate social expectations. For empaths, the persona is often constructed around accessibility. You've been taught that being hard to read means being unkind. But when you stop caring, you stop performing that accessibility. You stop letting people in just because they knock. What emerges isn't coldness, it's containment. You hold your inner world more carefully. You don't spill your thoughts to fill silence. You don't over-explain to ease someone else's confusion. You let mystery exist. And mystery, for people used to your transparency, feels like rejection. But here's what they don't see. You haven't closed yourself off. You've just stopped leaving the door open for anyone who wanders by. You've started asking people to earn access, and most won't. Because most were never interested in entering. They were interested in what they could extract from the threshold. This unreadability isn't a defense mechanism. It's a recalibration. You're no longer using your openness to prove your worth. You're letting your worth exist without proof. And that shift, quiet as it is, changes how you move through the world. So here you are. The shadow integrated, the relationships reorganized, your inner world no longer on display, and the strangest part, you don't feel diminished. You feel concentrated. Like you've spent years diluted across too many people and finally remembered your original density. Jung said individuation was about becoming who you are, not who you're supposed to be. And for empaths, that often means unlearning the idea that your value lives in your availability. It means accepting that the part of you that stopped caring wasn't the part that broke. It was the part that finally woke up. You'll probably wonder sometimes if you've gone too far, if you've become the thing you feared. But then you'll notice something. The people who genuinely matter don't experience your boundaries as coldness. They experience them as honesty. They don't miss the old version of you who said yes to everything. They prefer this version who means it when you say yes at all. These three shifts, shadow integration, relational reorganization, unreadability, they're not a descent into apathy. They're a return to accuracy. You haven't stopped feeling, you've stopped spending feeling on people and situations that never intended to reciprocate. And maybe that's the real transformation. Not that you stopped caring completely, but that you started caring correctly, about fewer things, with more precision, in ways that don't cost you yourself. That's not something to fix. That's something to trust.